The Search Podcast USA Edition series is sponsored by Ascen. Ascen is a top employer of record in North America that exclusively helps staffing and recruitment agencies hire contractors compliantly throughout the US and Canada. Ascen's all-in-one white-label platform handles onboarding, timesheets, payroll, benefits, insurance, invoicing, and optional financing so you can grow quickly in the US and Canada. Start growing your staffing agency in the US today with Ascen. Visit us at ascen.com.
This episode is sponsored by Recruiterflow, the true AI native recruiting software with enterprise-grade depth. With Recruiterflow, you will get a full ATS and CRM with Recruiterflow's intelligence layer running through every workflow. Recruiterflow is known for being the first to launch campaigns for recruiters, first to introduce AI agents natively, not as an add-on, and now the first to bring the true natural language search in the industry, offering you everything you need to future-proof your business, your search, and your recruiting processes. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of the Search Podcast. Elliott Manning here, the Managing Director of Cayman Recruitment Group. Again, always going to throw an introduction in there, even though it's the same person every week, but one week it might change. You never know. I've got a fantastic guest with me on this week's episode of the Search Podcast. Someone who, is actually American, who's not a Brit that I've usually been interviewing, that's moved over to America. So, you're not hearing the same similar stories and, this story and, journey that, this guy's been on with his business. I'm excited to share it, but I'll let you take away a proper introduction of yourself.
Thank you so much, Elliott. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm Billy Himpler with Spectrum Careers. I also am with GovCon Leaders Circle. It's a networking group that we have in the DC area. I am in the recruiting space, staff augmentation, executive search. I lead one of the practices at Spectrum Careers, and I've been doing recruiting for a little over 10 years now. Prior to that, I was in accounting.
Fantastic. I'm going to have to ask you this question as the first one. Like, why did you transition from being an accountant into recruiting? How did that come about, Billy? Just it's not usually part of what I like to
Yeah,
ask, but I'm actually intrigued.
I was a terrible accountant. The people that I worked with, some of them I still get to work with today. So I worked at a firm called RSM. I'm sure some of your listeners have heard of it. But some of the folks at RSM will laugh hearing this because I was not a good auditor. Part of that is with anything. I think if you're really excited about something, you do well. If you're not, makes sense. Your heart's not in it. So I've been doing that for probably half a year, maybe 9 months, and I was like, man, I love accounting, but audit's just not for me. Started to get to know some recruiters, just like I'm doing today. There were recruiters at the time reaching out to me to try to find an accounting job. And I went through a few rounds, different companies, interviewed a lot of places. Eventually, one of the recruiters said, "Hey, it seems like you like accounting, you like to talk about it, but you don't necessarily want to do it." And that's exactly what it was. So they actually brought me in another firm at the time. I worked there for about 2.5 years, and I joined Spectrum Careers in 2018.
Awesome. Good move. Good decision.
Yeah, absolutely. This fits me. The thing is, at the time, I was 22, 23, and the only impression I had of sales, because our industry, even though it's a little bit different than traditional sales, professional services sales, the only impression I had of sales, having been recently in college, was insurance sales.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm never doing sales. But my mind was open to a completely different industry, and I'm very happy I landed into it. It was not intentional,
Yeah.
but it fits me 100%.
Fantastic. Good.
Yeah.
So with the business that you're currently working in and what you've been doing, what do you guys specialize in? What are you recruiting for? I know that you're in the DC area and I'm familiar with it, but for those listeners, what is it
Yeah.
you guys recruit into exactly?
Right. So because my background was in accounting, got the CPA, did all that, undergrad in accounting. The focus in recruiting right away was accounting and finance search.
Yeah.
And so the firm I was with initially, that was one of their focuses, and that is one of Spectrum's focuses. So we're looking constantly for folks from entry level all the way up to CFO, and then on the specifically GovCon side. So the DC area it's like Silicon Valley for government contractors.
Yeah.
So I work with um, contracts management, pricing professionals, proposals. Uh, it's a little bit unique to the industry, so I don't want to spend too much time on it for your listeners, but essentially your corporate back office at a non-GovCon commercial firm may have less roles, whereas a government contractor will have it divided up into several.
Yeah.
And so we focus on everything from the front end of the business, the growth side, to the back end, the accounting and reporting side. It's probably
Awesome.
the easiest way to condense it.
How, I mean, look, there's not, I mean, when you look at the US and you look at recruiting, there's recruitment in every single state, in every kind
Yeah,
of market, right? And,
yeah,
naturally, I feel like a lot of firms are in the DC area are always centered around the government contracts and, the anything in that market space. Is that busy enough? Is it something that you guys kind of solely operate in, or do you, kind of break your market up into other geographical
sure,
locations as well? Like, or
sure.
for government, is that the place to be?
So, because there is so much work in the government contracting space, I lead that practice,
Yeah,
but we have several other practice leaders and teams. Um, so within Spectrum, Spectrum as a whole was founded on accounting and finance search. We've got the team I'm leading. Another team we have is focused on nonprofits, and then another team is focused on real estate and financial services. Now, there's plenty of industries that sort of float between or don't fit necessarily into one of those. And I still work with nonprofits. I still work with real estate firms. But because there is so much work to your question, it's been beneficial to have specific industry verticals. That way we can speed to market. I think you can appreciate it, right? Our customers are usually looking for someone yesterday. If we can get them half a dozen candidates right this second, that's going to help a lot versus what may be at the executive level a much longer turnaround time for, say, a CFO or a director of FP&A, which makes sense. Um, an expedited delivery helps, and it helps us with being competitive too. If I
yeah,
get those people to them faster, we're providing a better service. On the recruiting side for our staff, it helps them too, because with them being focused on a particular vertical, they don't have to recreate the wheel each time.
yeah,
And they know their product better, so to speak, right? Because if you're at a smaller firm where you're industry agnostic, okay, I think I know government contracting. What is the FAR? I know you may or may not know, but that is Federal Acquisition Regulation. So, okay, you have to kind of recreate the wheel each time is the point I'm getting at. Nonprofit, okay, what are OMB circulars? So you have to learn that all each time with a smaller firm that's industry agnostic, with at least we like to think so. Having industry verticals helps us with knowing our brand and our product more.
got it. Fine.
Yeah.
And I guess like, when I've looked at like the talent that you guys bring into the business and, you're not always trying to hire people with experience in that marketplace itself, how successful, I suppose, is it to train and develop, rookies to adapt to your market against hiring, naturally those with experience that know and can plug and play into it pretty quickly.
I think that we've put together a pretty good proven process. I've had folks that start right out of college and have done great with us. I've got folks that came in with experience and have done really well. And it's happened in both cases the other way. Sometimes the entry level person doesn't work out, sometimes the experienced person doesn't work out. But I do feel pretty good about our process overall. Um, We've got an excellent team. Kevin Kelly at the helm. He's our founder. Um, does that answer your question?
Does perfectly, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. And being in DC, what's the competition like? Because obviously a lot of the companies that I usually talk to are all British firms moved over to the US. They're competing with American firms, and it's kind of like a battle of like who can kind of compete at and get to the top.
Yeah.
Do you see a threat, from international businesses in your marketplace? Are they even bothering to touch it because they don't probably understand it as much, or?
Each city's different. Over the years, I've realized that. So DC is extremely unique. And you asked earlier about different geographic locations.
Yeah.
We do work up and down the East Coast, particularly my work because it's so centered around government contractors. Bulk percentage is, of course, in the DC area, but some other markets, Huntsville, Tampa, Colorado Springs. Just those, even though they're still GovCon focused, have a unique feel to them. So I'll give you a comparison. Let's take, Charlotte, for example. There's not necessarily as much of a created demand. And what I mean by that is, whereas the DC area has almost too many recruiting firms, you can never have too many, but
Yeah.
let's say you did. Charlotte doesn't have as much. So if I'm an internal talent acquisition HR rep posting a rec, um, I'm probably not getting hit up as much by recruiters. There isn't as much of a push by the hiring manager, hey, we have to go outside. Whereas in DC, I've had clients tell me, if I want someone really good for fill in the blank position, I need to go to the accounting and finance recruiting firm, to the IT recruiting firm, to the light industrial recruiting firm. There's a built up created demand because of the way the market is set up in the DC area. Additionally, going back to your original question about international, I think that if you want to do well in this market, probably similar in other markets too, but particularly in this market, you have to be doing networking events at an aggressive rate. And I'll give you some examples in a second. Whereas if you're an international firm and you're overseas and you're trying to long line it into DC, just calling in, emailing, you
Yeah.
got no chance.
Yeah.
It's hard enough for me to build a relationship with companies that I really want to get to know, but don't. And I'm here.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we started a few years ago was the GovCon Leaders Circle. It's a networking group. It's designed for a couple things. Um, One, so selfishly, I can meet all these really smart
Yeah.
people and get to know them.
Yeah.
But in a genuine additional way, I think it's nice to be able to get everybody in the same room and give back to those people because they want to hear from their peers.
Yeah.
They want to be able to in a again good way cheat off of each other, share notes. So we'll do a roundtable series. We'll do basically two or three a month for the first half of the year, and we have our big event coming up September 9th. That's the GovCon Summit, and then we'll pick up the roundtables again in the fall. Summertime is very slow. A
Yeah.
lot of people are at the beach and such, so we'll do golf outings and Top Golf and some other stuff. But yeah, long answer for you, but hope that helps.
No, it does. It really does. And, it's good for those listening in that are from the international markets, even thinking about doing anything that's government contract related. I know that there's a lot of work in technology within cybersecurity where they do stuff within defense tech and, the government, there's a lot of that in that technology space, but you have to go through a compliant process and be accepted, I think, in some aspects to be able to deliver to those those markets. So it's not as easy as I suppose everyone thinks it might well be. But just like you said, with other industries, those networking groups, those community groups are the way into a lot of these things. That helps people with growing their, then, I suppose their environment a lot more and quicker than others. So, you seem to be doing, all the good stuff that a lot of other firms are doing in their own markets, which is why they end up dominating and becoming, a better, company for for these clients of yours to work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. People buy from people they like. You could
Yeah.
swap that out with people they trust, people they know, but yeah, it's becoming very difficult. How many spam calls do you get a day?
Too many to the point where I try and be as polite as I can.
Yeah.
And, I guess someone might catch me on a bad day.
Yeah, I get a lot of spam calls. I get a lot of spam emails. We all do. And it's a real bummer thinking that, oh wait, that's me too, to my
Yep.
my customers, my clients, the people that I actually want to get in front of. But it's absolutely true, and it's good that we can appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
Um, Again, all the more reason why you just got to meet folks,
Yeah,
put a face to their
absolutely.
name. Yeah.
And for you guys and your growth, and kind of what I like to usually finish up on the pod is understanding a bit more about what it is, you guys are looking to achieve over the coming months. What's the journey, what's the plan? Because if those that are listening in and those that are interested, it's good to give them some context on what you guys are looking to achieve.
Could you repeat the question? It buffered a little bit.
Yeah, I was saying, like, with the end of the pod, I usually like to go into a little bit more depth around, what's your journey looking like over the coming months?
Got it.
Are you guys looking to
Yeah.
bring in more talent? Like, how do you
Yeah.
foresee the growth?
Yeah, yeah. We're always looking for great people. Yeah,
Yeah,
and if someone's experienced in our industry and for whatever reason it's just not working at their current firm, we always want to hear from them.
yeah,
I generally I don't have like it has to be this particular background in order to
yeah,
be successful. I think a lot of what we do comes down to personal motivation. I'd rather take someone with the best soft skills and less technical skills. Maybe not no technical skills, but it's like anything. If someone has all the brains, all the smarts, but horrible people skills, it's never
yeah.
going to work.
No,
Um, yeah, so we're looking to grow. Spectrum's been around for 30 years, boutique firm. We've grown significantly. Just this year, we're doing very well compared to last year. Last year was a tough year for a lot in our industry, particularly in the DC area with the change in the administration. But this year's been great so far. Yeah, so we're hoping for more exciting news down the line. I'll share with you when we have it.
yeah, no, I'd love to hear about it. Absolutely. And Billy, just a kind of like final thought, is there any think that you would advise recruitment firms that might be even thinking about having a business in DC and opening up, whether it's accounting, finance, or even in most cases technology? Do you have any thoughts around what the DC area is like to service and recruit?
Recommendations for folks. Yeah. Well, DC is unique geographically in that it's very spread out. You've got, so like I go into Tyson's. Tyson's is generally considered part of the DC area, but if you plopped Tyson's somewhere else, it'd be its own city. And I feel like most people just don't even think of it. Tyson's, Arlington, Alexandria, Bethesda, you've got all these little cities. So the DC area is very stretched. Whereas DC proper, it's not as dense as, say, a New York or a Miami or a Chicago. You're servicing, you could say, between a 50 to, I don't want to say 100, but north of 50-mile radius.
Yeah,
That's much bigger. It's very complex in the government contracting space because of all of the acronyms. So I remember thinking when I was getting into it, I will never know all these acronyms. And there's probably a lot of stuff I still don't know for sure.
yeah,
Um, but as a recruiter, you kind of pick it up, just like anything, it's buzzwords. Um, Getting familiar with stuff comes with time.
yeah,
The IT, I mean, IT, there's a lot in the government contracting space. There's a lot outside of government contracting. We've got some significant players, and I think I saw the stats the other day of top 10 publicly traded firms where they are throughout the US, and there's a few, one in Arlington and one in I want to say Southern Maryland, Montgomery County somewhere. Um, so it's a significant market. You don't usually, I think DC gets overlooked a little bit. There's certainly opportunity. You can carve out a niche in anything.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but
Awesome.
I recommend the area for anyone that's looking, certainly.
Yeah, perfect. Billy, I really appreciate all the insights and understanding a bit, more about what you guys are doing, how you operate, what it's like to work in your space as well. But at the same time, it's interesting to hear what I've taken away from this is that, no matter what industry you're in, those community networking groups and the opportunities to stand out is what's going to put you above the competition. And it's really good to know because I think everyone should be doing it in whichever way they even, feel, whether it is doing these community groups, even going to these expos across the US or even doing a podcast, it's the
Yeah,
best way to, to keep that momentum of getting that networking built out.
definitely, definitely. I mean, we didn't even touch on AI much, but I think that people are craving more human touch,
Yes.
more, and it'll be more and more as we see AI progress. But
Yeah.
beyond that desire, I just think doing your best, you do need to get in people
I
face to
love
face.
AI, Billy.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
awesome. We use it, but
yeah,
I'm so old school and prefer to remain that way in how I approach business and what I do. That
yeah.
personal human element is vital because
Yep.
of this, you need the emotion, right? You need that
Right.
personality, and AI doesn't give you any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, no, look, Billy, I appreciate your time. Thank you for jumping on and having this conversation with me. You and I will be in touch, of course. And if anyone wants to reach out to Billy and understand a bit more about, what these guys at Spectrum are doing, opportunities that they may have for you, even to understand anything maybe around government contracts, I'm sure, hopefully Billy will be open to answering any of those questions. His links will be shared on all socials that the podcast goes out on. So if anyone has any questions, reach out, let us know. Thanks again, Billy. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Elliot. I appreciate it.